In this video, I'm going to break down for you the basic framework that I use and how you should be thinking of your SaaS application and realistically what it means for your customers and the value proposition. So the order that I want to go in, I'm going to use my whiteboard to do so. I'm going to start with the framework. Also going to share some examples. And then we're going to talk about how you apply this yourself. Okay, so framework first. When we think about what a SaaS application is, to me, it really boils down into three concepts. And I want to make sure you're focusing on the right ones for the right purpose. The three concepts in question here are, number one, your input. Number two, the output. And number three, it's the outcome. Now, what really matters here more than anything to your customer is this. This is what they're looking for, and that's why they buy. The outcome is what you are promising them in the form of your SaaS solution. But how you do that involves the inputs and the outputs to a particular process, which ideally becomes your primary workflow. A lot of SaaS applications basically are automated bottlenecks, which is the slowest step in a process, preventing your customer from doing something. And most of that time, it's a problem that they need solved. Your SaaS solution becomes how they solve that problem. So the input in this case is what you get from them. So this comes from the customer. They provide the input. You're going to produce the output, which is how they're doing it today. Only yours is going to be more automated, right? Your solution is going to be better than however they're solving that problem today. So this is the SaaS doing the work here. And that's how these two are connected. So you're going to take their input, produce the output they need, which is going to enable the outcome for them. Now, where people get confused here a lot, they confuse these two. So the output and the outcome. These are often thought of interchangeably, and they're just not. The output is what you're producing, but the outcome is what your customer actually cares about. This is why they buy. This is just what they use to achieve that. And I'm going to give you examples and make this a bit easier to understand. But these are really the steps, and this is the framework. So right now, today, so we're thinking about what the day in the life of your customer is like now. So today, this is before your SaaS. They're doing it manually. And then tomorrow, with your solution, it's more automated, right? So what's the difference here? What's the value they get? Well, they still want this outcome, but they don't want to do it in the manual way. They want to do it in the automated way. So through the SaaS solution that you provide to them, you save them ideally time, which ultimately translates to money, or money directly. So there's really three elements to that, right? You can make them more money, you can save them money, or you can save them time, which translates to save money. Ultimately, it all boils down that way. That's usually how they think of value. But this is really how all the pieces fit together and what your SaaS application is in the end. So they want the outcome. So your SaaS enables them to do that faster, easier, but it does so via incorporating this process, right? You're going to take the inputs for their process, produce the output, which enables them to achieve the successful outcome. And it does so faster, cheaper, better than however they do that today. That's really the framework you can use to think of what your SaaS application should be or shouldn't be. Now, we've designed that. I want to give you some examples. I'm going to make some space here. I've got the one that I'm building in public with you guys, and I posted a series of videos on that just this week. I'll link to that playlist so you have it in case you want to refer back to it in greater detail. But I'm building my latest SaaS application in public. That is a SaaS application to help the legal services industry with their billing related challenges by making it easier for them to recover any of the work that they're doing for their clients and bill for it in an automated way. Because today that process is manual, painful, and they don't like doing it, costs them time, takes them away from doing things that are actually productive and valuable for the business. They get kind of bogged down into that admin work. So the whole idea here is to do it in a more automated way. That's what my solution is intending to provide for them in the form of that SaaS. So that's what I'm building in public. So I've got the legal billing example, right? Basically what this does is this takes the input, and the input in this case is however they're tracking the work that they do today. I've talked about integrations that I'm planning to build for V1. That's likely to come from some of their email providers. I'll probably integrate with something like Outlook first. So I'll check things like their sent email folder in their client to see what emails do they send, what context was in those emails, which clients do they do it for, how much time they spend doing it. Those are all the input elements that I need in order to produce the output, which from the SaaS application in this case, that's a report that says, here's what you did, here's who you did it for, here's how much time you spent, and then based on your billing rate, this is what we need to invoice them for. Except it does it in an automated way. That's what was down here before. So now the outcome that they're looking for, so that's the input and the output for that example. But the outcome they're looking for is they want this to go away. They don't want to do that manually anymore. Today, they have to do that themselves. They have to, and for all the work that they do, via email, another integration I'm considering building is for note takers. If they're recording the sessions with their clients, they can pull from that source as well also. But if this isn't automated, they have to do it manually. And they have to spend time doing it. And that time they spend doing that, they can't spend doing work for clients, for example, which translates to more billing, which translates to more revenue, which improves the performance for their firm and their business. So the outcome we are producing for them in this case, which is highly correlated with the value, right? This is what matters most. That comes from this outcome. So if we can achieve that outcome for them, they find that valuable, they get that time back, they recover as much of that unbilled time as they can, and they can invest that elsewhere to make them more productive, their business higher performing, whatever. How it compares to the inputs and the outputs, because there's often confusion between output and outcome, is this is kind of behind the scenes stuff in terms of how we achieve this for them. So the outcome is why they buy. The outcome is the solution to their problem. And if they want to know more about your promise to them, which is, I can achieve this outcome for you, they might want to know more about how you intend to do it. But I wouldn't start there, right? This is the piece that sells them on your SaaS. It's what is the value you're going to be providing for me? What's the successful outcome you're going to enable me to achieve? Are you going to make my problem go away? That's the first thing they want to know. Now, what they might want to know beyond that, some of your customers may want to know more about how you intend to do that. So if they understand that you get this big picture for them, there's trust building elements, there's all kinds of things that they go through psychologically as they're looking for solutions to their problem, and they're considering your SaaS as a potential option for that. But the first thing they're going to consider is, can you help me make this problem go away, right? Can you help me achieve the successful outcome? That's the value I'm looking for. If they understand that, but they still want to know more, they may want to know more about how you intend to do that. And that's where this comes into play. So this whole piece here, this is really the how. And that's, we take these inputs from you and we produce this in the form of an output, and that output enables you to achieve that outcome. So if they want to know more, they will dive deeper and they'll go there. And that's why we include that kind of how it works section on the landing page. But again, we start with the outcome, we start with the value. For those that want to go deeper, we'll go into kind of the how we achieve that for them. But here's what matters most. Most people don't really care. I know that's counterintuitive, but things that we get excited about, I'm an ex-engineer or an engineer or whatever, and I used to get very excited about this piece, about look how amazing it is that I can automate this for you and I can take this pile of stuff and I can produce ultimately this better pile of stuff, right? It sounds a little goofy when I say it out loud, but this is where a lot of the magic happens, right? That's where you guys provide a lot of value for your customer. However, realize that in a lot of these instances, they don't really care about that. They care more about this. So most of what we're going to do, marketing, selling, all that kind of stuff, is going to be focused here. There's only going to be some instances where you're going to need to explain this piece. But what I want to make clear here, and this is why I wanted to break this down in a framework of sorts, is you don't put more effort here, you put more effort here. As in, it's not about the output that you can create for them. That's only a key part of the process to enable them to achieve that successful outcome. So the last piece, thinking about how you apply this. Well, think about how you're marketing, selling, even how you've designed or built your solution, or how you're thinking about doing that if you're in the idea stage. And if you take this framework and what I've explained here, given that example, and you realize that you're more focused on output, you're marketing, you're selling, you're creating content that's more focused on outputs, you have to shift that in the direction of the outcome. If you don't know necessarily what that outcome is in your instance, then you have to figure that out. And I can help you with this stuff as well too. Better understanding constructs like these, frameworks, how to apply them to what it is that you're doing as part of private coaching that I offer for early stage and first time bootstrap founders of SaaS businesses. If you want to learn more about that, go to bootstrappersparadise.com. I hope you got value out of this video. I'm going to be producing more like it.